this, by far, burning 280,000 acres, kills 15 people, one of them being a firefighter. Absolutely just a memory that I'll never forget.
It was the wildfire of all wildfires. Until that day in October of 2003, no one in California ever imagined anything like it.
And this was the biggest fire in California's history. So nobody had the experience of seeing this kind of devastation. And when this fire came through here with 50, 60 mile an hour sustained winds, it was blowing literally flames that were parallel to the ground with the flame tips extending past the house. Nobody has seen, at least not in my career, and I've been doing this 44 years.
The Cedar Fire, as it became known, was accidentally started by an inexperienced hunter in a place called Cedar Creek. As the story goes, he got lost, got scared, and started a signal fire. At that moment, the wind was calm. But as the sun went down, the Santa Ana wind was picking up and things were changing fast.
We were standing there and all of a sudden the wind shifted and the fires came back on the firemen and us. So everybody just scattered and it jumped Pomerado Road and went up into the wine country.
Some of the pictures from that day bring back haunting memories for a lot of people. At one point, a ring of fire surrounding hundreds of homes in Scripps Ranch. A few hours later, that ring of fire would wipe out an entire neighborhood.
And remember, we didn't have reverse 911. Many of the community was in bed when that fire hit Scripps Ranch. They were notified by police, loudspeakers, by firefighters banging on doors. Literally, people in their pajamas jumping into cars onto Pomerado Road.
It was the first 24 hours that proved to be the most deadly and most destructive, as the Santa Ana wind was being clocked at 60 to 70 miles an hour. In some cases, the fire was moving that fast as well.
I think the fire itself is probably at that 50, 60 mile an hour rate. It's blowing through here. And as it starts a house on fire, that may burn for an hour until it literally burns down to the ground. And by that time, the fire itself is at the other end of the country estates out here. It's devastating what these fires do.
And this is exactly where you're standing right now, where I was.
And as fires do, some areas were spared. In this particular case in Scripps Ranch, the neighborhood was spared thanks to a good Samaritan named Ed Miskelin.
I didn't want the house was burning. It was already destroyed. Why burn the flag? I mean, the flag is what we stand for in this country. And although there are people that are burning flags, I don't stand with them.
On October 25th, 2003, this is the location where most people lost their lives because of that fire. This is Wildcat Canyon Road. This is the area where people thought they could escape the fire. They got in their cars. They drove as far as they could. The smoke overcame them. The flames overcame them. And unfortunately, 10 people died in their cars while trying to escape the fire that night.
15 people died that day, including a firefighter who was tricked by the freaky nature of the wildfires.
The firefighter that I mentioned that died, one of the reasons why he died is because the fire experienced a change in weather conditions, and that fire reversed and ran up on them much faster than they thought.
By the time the smoke settled a couple of weeks later, the loss of life and property was beyond comprehension. 2,232 homes, 280,000 acres of land, and 15 souls lost to the fire. The Cedar Fire was a monster we had never seen until that day.
And the thing that most people don't realize is these fires can create their own weather. I had one of the pilots that works out of Ramona tell me one day, I saw a piece of burning plywood at 5,000 feet. Because of the convection, it just creates its own currents in and around the fire.
Dan Plant, KUSI News.